a wilderness situation can be a lonely place. It can be a place where you have no options concerning your relationships, your finances, healing, no options on the job, etc. From your perspective. You might feel stuck or stagnant in a wilderness situation, not knowing which way to turn or what to do. I want to talk about being in the wilderness. I think it's important, especially with when you're in transition and God has you in a place, the wilderness is an unsettled, I wrote the definition, uncultivated region, left in its natural condition, especially an intensive area such as a desert or ocean that is barren or empty. So we can get into that place sometimes where our lives replicate a wilderness because of where we are. But I want to give a little background to what I'm talking about. This is the lesson that I had previous, and I think it's just really good, prevalent for now. So during the interval of hundreds of years between Genesis and Exodus, the circumstances of the Israelites in Egypt changed drastically. From being favorably treated by Joseph, they were made slaves by a king who did not know about Joseph because the other king had died. God eventually sent so many plagues and caused so many deaths in Egypt that the king let the people leave. So in Exodus chapter 13, verse 17, it reads, "And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was very near, it was the closest route, for God said, lest peradventure the people repent. They feel such regret that they change their mind when they see war and they return to Egypt. They want to turn around and run."
Right.
God led the people around about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. So I was reading, that's the King James Version. So God, in getting them free, knew beforehand, I am not going to let you guys go this way because, you're going to be afraid when you get into war, you're going to be afraid, and you're going to want to run back and turn around. So I'm going to take you the hard way. And let that soak in. I'm going to take you another way. You're going a hard way. You're going through the wilderness. The wilderness you can't find anywhere when anybody portrays the wilderness that it's easy and nice.
Right, but heading into war is also a hard way.
Well, it is a hard way, but I mean, if you're going into war and you really trust God, is it really hard? The only reason that he didn't send them was because he said, I don't want to send you that way because you'll want to go back. He did not say, I don't want to send you that way because you can't win the war, because you can win the war with him. He knew that their hearts would turn back to the way that they came. They wanted to go back the easy way. Life in Egypt for them, as even though they were slaves, it was what they had become accustomed to. They were fed, they were housed, they were beat, but it's just like anybody else that goes through abuse. You just get used to it and it's easy. People don't like change. And so he's like, you know what? If I send you this way and you see all of these people, can you really trust me and know that, with Moses, you're going to go this way and you're going to, be okay and be taken care of? No, I'm going to take you through the wilderness. So they probably looked, now they didn't know what was up ahead in the wilderness.
No.
Right?
Not at all.
Now remember, when they went into the wilderness, they came across no food, no water. They grumbled, they complained. Okay. But God took them that way. And he also answered every issue that they had. He was the answer. He could have been the answer for them in war. It wasn't like, how many wars had they had? Well, they hadn't won any, but how many wars after, with Joshua? So it's not like God couldn't. They had never seen that before because they've been locked up, 400 years as slaves?
Right.
So if you're locked up as a slave, it's like being in prison. Huh? You're in prison and you come out, you don't know what's out here. You can't understand all this out here. So I want to go back. At least I'm safe. At least I'm fed.
That's what I'm used to, as he said.
That's what I'm used to. All right. So the Lord led them through the way of the wilderness. This right here, God told Moses to have the children of Israel set up camp. And then he said, this is Exodus 14, verse 3. For your enemy Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are bewildered by the land. The wilderness has closed them in. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them, and I will gain honor over Pharaoh and all of his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. Okay, so when they were in Egypt, all of what God did was to honor himself, to show himself strong to the people, right? So they had seen God work. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes, they did. Oh yeah, multiple times.
right, we're talking plague after plague after plague, and they
Yes.
were safe. They were safe. He saved them.
Right.
So danger. I mean, the whole 9 yards. But he had to literally lead them another route because he said they would be afraid and want to go back to that.
Right.
We don't even know half the time when we're enslaved.
Oh,
God is trying to set us free and
Mhm.
give us a better position, and we don't even recognize it. We want to go back to what we feel comfortable with, back to what we know, because it's what we know, as opposed to saying, let me look back at what I know. What was that really like? Because we forget what it was really like. I know this. We forget what it was really like. And then if we look at the way that it really was, then it could make it easier for us just to truly trust God going forward. But we never really look back until we want to go back. But we never really assess what it was like because we're so busy trying to go back. One of the focuses of the wilderness that I wrote, I said, oh, in this lesson, a wilderness situation can be a lonely place. It can be a place where you have no options concerning your relationships, your finances, healing, no options on the job, etc., from your perspective, right? You might feel stuck or stagnant in a wilderness situation, not knowing which way to turn or what to do. And usually when we get into that kind of situation, whether it's with any of those titles that I put in there, we're focused more on the issue and thinking about solutions that we can come up with, as opposed to allowing God to work us through the situation that we're in because he already led us in it. If God led you into something, if you know you're called to something, then it is our duty as a child of God to allow him to work in that situation, not to get so frustrated in it that we want to turn back and go back to what we were comfortable with, as opposed to trying to ride it out, staying in the boat or walking on the water or going with the fish, and allowing the Lord to work in our situation to get us to where we need to be. Now, for the children of Israel, he led them in the wilderness. He sent them that way. He set them up.
He did.
He knew y'all gonna be without water. You're gonna want some food, but I got manna for you. And I'm going to give you manna first. Okay. I'm going to give you manna first before you get into the promised land where you're going to get all of this. I'm just going to give you a little taste of something. I'm going to give you just a little taste and see how you steward that. Let's see what you do with that manna. I'm going to give it to you every day, but it's going to be the same thing. You're not going to be quite in that promised land situation, but you're definitely not going to be enslaved and be in Egypt. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to give you what you need, but just what you need. Not getting any extra. You can't store it up.
Oh my gosh.
You're only going to get what you need in this moment, because in this moment is where your training comes. You have to allow me to teach you how to trust me and steward what I give you well. So remember, when he gave the manna to some of the children of Israel, they stored it up and it rotted because they were so used to not having or being enslaved that they had this attitude, we're going to store it up because we can't trust that he's going to give us some more tomorrow. Surely not. We got to put it in these pots and keep it. And it just rotted away. And he said, I don't want you to store up anything. I want you to live day to day in this stage of transition on this new level as a beginner, I need you to live day to day with me so you can trust me on this level. Because when you get to moving forward on this level, there will be things that you're going to have to trust me. You're going to get to where you need some water. I'm not going to give you, a tank of water. I'm going to give you some water out of a rock. I'm going to give you manna out of the sky. And then when you leave that rock, you're not going to have any more water. I'm going to lead you to more water or to more food or give you more manna each day. But you're not going to be able to store it up because you are in a transition period where you have to learn to trust me day by day. And I led you into it. By the way, you didn't go that way. I led you into it so you wouldn't be crying and whining about going back to what you had before, first of all, because you've got to learn to trust me. Because where I'm taking you, I need you to be able to get there, and then you got to help your brothers get there. But remember, you're on a new level as a beginner.
Right.
So, you would think, well, I'm already seasoned. I know how to trust you, God. No, you don't. On this level, you don't. Now, yes, you have had to trust God on level 8,
Right.
but now you're on level 9 and you're a baby, a new beginner. So he's like, okay, so on this level, you need to learn how to trust me here. And yes, you're not going to have something that you can store up. Yes, you're not going to have, whatever it is that you need when you think you need it. You're going to get it when I want to give it to you, when I feel like you need it. That's the new level. Because for us on the last level, okay, so speaking of when we worked, me too. When you have a job, God blessed you to get that job.
Yes.
Blessed you every other week or once a month, you got a paycheck. But he blessed you. You didn't get it because of you. You got it because he blessed you.
Mhm.
That's how he wanted to bless you on that level. But when he tells you to step out and move into something different and let that go, then you're on a whole different level of trust. You trust that God's going to enable you to do it on whatever you're doing. But on this level, he's like, it doesn't work like that. You might not have that paycheck. You might not have those clients. You might not have it. It's totally different. So now you have to be on level 1 as a toddler, as a beginner, learning how to walk. And I got your hand. I'm helping you. If you stumble and fall, I'm gonna help you get up and figure out, which way you need to go. Don't walk this way, wear these shoes, do whatever. This is the way he works on this level. And he's like, I led you into this. I took you here. So don't try to be, going back, because there's nothing back there for you. Actually, what's back there for you, you've already experienced. So if you don't want to experience anything else in life, then go back to that level. But if you want to experience something new with me, and if you want to experience what's on this level, then you stay the course on this level and trust that I'm going to provide. That's what we get on this level. So some of us are led into these situations so that we can learn to trust God, or for the more seasoned believer, you might have to learn to trust him on another level. And then we have to overcome fears. Okay. Fear of not having enough. Fear of what are people going to say because I'm not doing what I used to do. Fear of how are they going to respond to me because they're looking at me now and I'm not doing that. Fear of, well, I don't have it like I used to have it, so I don't know what to do now. Just fear of everything. We're afraid. I don't know that can I actually do what you're asking me to do, Lord? Fear of, oh, are you going to tell me what I need to do? Fear of, am I hearing you? I'm afraid I'm not really hearing you. Should I move forward? Fear. We have to overcome fears, and there are a lot of fears on a new level. So in the process, remember, change is inevitable. It's what we do in the process that matters. In the process, we need to seek God first and let him guide you along the way, and don't complain. It's that simple. And didn't even get any simpler than that.
And it's funny, I was just thinking, like, how could the experience for the Israelites been better? I just kept thinking, should not have complained as much. That was a great start. That could have been a great start.
They should not have complained at all. There's no reason to complain if you fully understand that your Father is going to take care of you.
Right.
And with what he showed them, but I honestly believe that their focus was more on what he did to the Egyptians as opposed to what he did for them. Meaning their focus was on what he was doing to the Egyptians and not what he was doing for them. You can look at how God is dealing with someone else that's, wicked or bad, but not focus on the fact that he kept you from the wicked and the bad. He kept you from, all of the beatings. He kept you from all of the wrath and the plagues. He's kept you from, they're not thankful because you're too focused on what he's doing to them. Because remember, the Egyptians were the ones who enslaved them. So because they would want that revenge, they're focused more, I believe they were focused more on that as opposed to focusing more on what God was doing for them. He was delivering them and putting them in a position where they could move forward and excel. But I believe that their focus was not on that. Because if their focus was on that, they would have been ready to go and stay gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.